the more I'm studying this word, the more I'm realizing that the word we tend to equate with calling, purpose, is nowhere near enough, right? I think it's partly because we don't really truly understand what purpose means. Purpose itself is often used to just kind of mean passion, like the things that we're passionate about. And that's, you'll see in a minute, but that's the idea, the concept that I'm going to be challenging the most here in this episode, because there was a long period of time where I looked at things that way. I thought about, if I'm trying to find my purpose, then, my purpose, my calling, I didn't call it calling at the time. I was calling it purpose. And, I always started with, okay, well, what are my passions? And one of those passions, has a deeper meaning. And so therefore it must be my purpose, right? That was kind of the logic. I don't know if that's just me, but that was kind of the logic that I followed to try to help me find my purpose. And one of the things that I learned this morning, which I'll share with you, is that I was going about that completely wrong in the first place. We are not meant to find our purpose. And I will explain that in a minute. But we're not. We're not meant to find our purpose or our calling at all. That's the part we're getting wrong. So let's just kind of go into this. The Hebrew word, pardon me if I mispronounce this or say it wrong or whatever, it's spelled Qara, at least the way that I've found it. And it's like kata or kata, something like that. And its true meaning, like definition, is to call, summon, or proclaim. Okay. So those things are relatively similar. Proclaim kind of feels a little bit on the offside of that. So we're going to focus mostly on call and summon, because when we say calling and we talk about purpose, that's really more what we mean. And, this word, this Hebrew word, is used all throughout scripture in a lot of the really famous Bible stories, right? We hear about it when we're talking about Moses. We hear about it with Abraham. We hear about with Samuel. And, Moses is called to, as we know, go back to Egypt and lead the Israelites out of Egypt, out of slavery, basically. And the intention is for him to take them to Canaan, where they're supposed to then be able to build their nation and become, the nation of God, right? Obviously, they take a few turns along the way because of choices that the Israelites make, but that is Moses' calling, right? He is called very clearly, very audibly through a burning bush that many of us would be terrified of and at the same time kind of love, because it's hard to misunderstand that. He's called that way. Abraham is similarly called because he is the father of the nation of Israel. He is called to leave his homeland and go out into the world and basically become the nation of Israel. Samuel is called to be a prophet. So this is a little bit more of, I would think, probably more similar to what most of us are looking for, the type of calling we're expecting, because obviously we're not expecting to go lead an entire nation, most of us. But Samuel is more of, this is like a vocation that we see. Not that I'm saying being a prophet is a vocation, but we see it that way sometimes. And so the idea of Samuel being called to be a prophet, that feels more relatable, I think, because, okay, am I called to be a singer? Am I called to be a business coach? Am I called to be, I don't know, an event planner? Honestly, it could be anything, but it's that vocation, or that like kind of identity, if that makes sense, like that title that we feel we're being called into. And that's what we're typically looking for, right? I mean, that's what I've always been looking for. So as I was looking into this, and specifically into those stories, but like you see this across the Bible, it's not just in these places, there are a few kind of key things that stood out to me in each of the instances in the Bible where this word chara is used. First and foremost, God calls these people by name. It's not a situation where he like puts out a blast and says, hey, I need somebody to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and to Canaan. Who's going to do that? Who's got that? You got that, Moses? Okay, cool. No, he specifically says, Moses, you are called to do this. You're the only person who can do it. I need you to go. But most importantly, he has uniquely designed Moses and his journey and his life to be the right person, right? Moses, having been somebody who, first off, shouldn't even be alive, and we're not going to go super far down this tangent, but like in reality, Moses shouldn't, I mean, he was born, but at a time when all of the Israelite babies, especially the boys, were being killed, right? He should have died immediately, but he didn't. Not only did he not die, he ended up being raised in Pharaoh's own home by his daughter. So he was raised in royalty. He had a direct connection to the Pharaoh, but he also was not a perfect human, right? He murders someone and then runs off in fear, right? He has this unique background to, you know, not only see God's hand in his life and in his journey and the providence that allowed him to even exist in the first place, but, and this is me just kind of like side questing a little bit for a second, so bear with me, but he, his background as somebody who is so flawed, like we all are, but as a murderer, I think we can agree he's pretty flawed. That is a way that I think uniquely prepares him to be able to relate to and understand the Israelites and all of the stupid choices that they're about to make during all of this time in the desert. Granted, he gets just as frustrated with them and whatever, but he can understand the fear, and he can understand the doubt and the things that cause them to disobey and to stray from God, even though God is basically physically present with them and they can see his hand guiding them. I think Moses is uniquely designed, and his journey uniquely prepared him to be a good leader for them because he can understand, but he's also learned from his past mistakes, right? So it's just kind of one example here, but he was clearly specifically chosen. They were all called by name. They are the uniquely designed person to fill that role, whatever it is.